Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. So today I felt really inspired to make a little video on 6 key signs that you can look out for to really identify if you are aligned with your path after a spiritual awakening. Now, while I say that, I kind of want to make it clear that this video is not for those who have just found themselves to really, come across the fact that they are going through a spiritual awakening, but really you've been on this journey a little while, at the very least a couple of months. And I say a couple of months because, really a spiritual awakening can take you months to years to get through, but everyone's journey is going to differ. Some people can find after 1 year that they've really reached that destined path, that destined goal, starting to live from their purpose, and they're really aligned on their path, versus others may struggle, have a lot more healing to do, and can take a lot more time to get there. So timing isn't really the best indicator, but at the very least, if you're still in the negative emotions about your spiritual awakening, then this message is not for you. More so, this message is for those that are actively and proactively working towards their highest timeline, trying to quantum leap towards those positive shifts that help them align with their destined path so that they can live from their purpose. And, if you're a twin flame, possibly get towards union. So this message is going to be for you, and this video is dedicated to sharing 6 signs to help you identify if you are aligned with that path. Now, the first sign that you can look out for that you are actually aligned with your destined purpose and path is really that you have this weird sense of calm about you that keeps you anchored no matter what the situation is in your physical reality. Let's say you were somebody that, could easily get upset based on old situations. You got anxious a lot. Now, the new you doesn't react to those situations in the same way. Let's say you are having some difficulty with some financial burdens, and at the same time, you get multiple bills and unexpected bills that show up, but you are still able to understand that this is just a tiny piece in your overall journey. It's not going to matter, and you have this calm that keeps you moving through on your journey. So regardless of what the situation looks like on the outside, your internal compass and your ability to stay in the present moment is what is driving your actions and your behavior. That is a really good sign that you are actually aligned with your new timeline and your new path. Now, a second sign that you are actually in alignment with the divine, with the universe, is that information that you come across, thoughts that you are having, thoughts that you might be journaling, information you're listening to, starts to echo back to you your internal reality. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you actually go to the library and you read a particular book. You read something and, it catches your attention, and you acknowledge that, wow, I really like this sentence. It really resonates with me. You leave the library, you walk down the street, you run into a stranger, and that stranger that doesn't know about what you're thinking about, what you've read, echoes back to you that same message. Could be different words, but generally it'll be that same sentiment, and you'll think, oh my God, I can't believe this is being echoed back to me. You may actually be watching TV, information comes out of somebody's mouth, catches your attention, or you start to ponder about it or have your own thought about it. And later on, you turn on the radio, and that, in the form of some lyrics also gets echoed back to you. Let's say you're journaling, you have a particular thought. You believe you've really selected those choice of words that you journal down, and later on somebody that you meet repeats that back to you, and you think, is this really happening to me? Or you may get a vision of something and that appears back to you in some other way. So this can happen in so many different ways, but it's not just happening to you once, it's happening to you repeatedly, and you're almost starting to think, what is happening? And that is, you are sinking in with the universe, understanding the concept of oneness, and that really being echoed back to you, that you are really in divine alignment with your path and your purpose. Now, while I say that, I want to add that this actually could show up for you in ways of thinning the boundaries across cultures, across peoples of different nationalities, And really, let's say you were somebody that was extremely religious prior to your awakening. You start to understand that concept of oneness, that concept of energy and frequency, and that gets echoed and mirrored back to you. Now, you could be somebody that follows, the Islamic faith, but now you're leaning more towards spirituality. And so what happens is the thoughts that you're having, the information that you're listening to gets echoed back to you from somebody of the Christian faith or somebody of the Hindu faith. And you say, oh my God, wow, I'm now more open to this information coming from different areas, and that's how it's being echoed back to me. So really those illusion, the illusion of separation, those boundaries start to thin down for you, and you really are open and receptive to getting that divine message from anywhere and anyone and anything. So that is another good sign that you are in alignment on your path and journey. Sign number 3 is that you start to see your angel numbers, your life path numbers once again. They are appearing back, into your life heavily because you are about to reach some form of a milestone or, have just reached that milestone. And so those are recurringly showing up for you in different ways and in different places that it's too hard for you to ignore. Again, if this is just happening to you once, it's probably not it. But if you are being flooded with it from all different directions, then that's a good sign that you are also in alignment. Sign number 4 that you are in alignment is that you no longer have any difficulty with letting things go that no longer serve you. While early on in your journey, you might have, been kind of on the fence with, do I do this? Do I not do this? Do I go out with this person? Do I hang out with that group? Do I still partake in this activity that I used to love so much, but it's no longer aligned with me? You no longer have an issue with setting those healthy boundaries in terms of keeping those that are not energetically aligned with you kind of away from yourself. Also, not really engaging with particular groups, people, places, things that used to be aligned with you before, but are no longer. So you are generally accepting of your journey, of your path, and you're easily monitoring what comes in and out of your life so that you can really move away from what no longer serves you and have no difficulty in doing so. Sign number 5, and this one sometimes comes harder to understand early on in your journey, but as you get further along and you are in alignment with really moving towards where you're trying to get to with that destined path and purpose, you are going to really find yourself being calm in the present moment. And but what do I mean by that? Now, if you take a look at how you've evolved on your journey, you might find that, prior to your awakening, you loved control. You loved finding out what was next. You were possibly always trying to figure out the when, the who, the what. Now you might be in a centered place where you're just enjoying the current day, the current meaningful conversation with a family member, the current book that you might be reading, and that is bringing you peace. Now, while I say that, I do want to say I'm not saying that you are in complete fulfillment or finding a lot of joy with where you are in life. That might not be the case. You may still have a little bit more time before you reach that state, but you are generally okay with not knowing what comes next. You are generally okay with understanding that just in this present moment, what you have is more than enough, and really finding that ability to find gratitude for what you're experiencing. There's a lot to be grateful for what you have now than to really focus on what needs to come tomorrow. So really anchoring yourself in that present moment and finding that you are happy doing just that. And, the sense of control that you wanted earlier is no longer there, and you're okay with that. So that is a really good sign that you are in alignment on your journey. Sign number 6 that you are aligned, and this is the last one on the list, is that you are releasing stuff emotionally, and it's happening to you sporadically. You don't understand what's going on, but maybe you hear an emotional song and it brings tears to your eyes. You're watching TV, you see an emotional scene that you normally wouldn't, tear up on, but it's bringing some tears to your eye. it is important to acknowledge what you're going through, but then release it. The key thing here as you go through this is practicing detachment. The one thing you do want to kind of probably note and watch out for is, how do you feel in relation to certain things that may come up for you compared to how you felt in the past? So, for example, let's say there is a particular event that took place in your life that really you hung on to for many years, and it kind of almost had an impact on who you became. So it could be the passing of someone, or an experience that you had with somebody where you weren't able to forgive them for what they did. Now, as you think about that, if you have, and I wouldn't say positive, but as long as you don't have any resentment, or you are unable to forgive that individual that this happened with, then as long as you're able to think about it in a neutral sense, then that means that it no longer has a hold on you emotionally, and you're doing a great job, and you are in alignment with where you are headed. So take a look at that as these emotional releases and purging happens. And when you no longer have a negative emotion associated with those events, or those, the releasing that you're having, that's a good sign that you are in alignment on your journey. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.